Welcome to the Halftime Podcast, a 15-minute show where two panellists with opposing views must discuss why theirs is the best, and you get to decide the winner.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Halftime Podcast. Today I'm joined by one very brilliant panellist in the form of Ese Agboaye. Ese, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
Hello. How have you been recently?
I've been good actually.
Yeah, you've been enjoying the Easter break, I guess.
Yeah, it was just a typical Easter really.
Yeah. Any chocolate eggs?
Not this year, no.
No. Oh, same, really, same. Unfortunately, but I'm not really a chocolate. Are you a chocolate guy or are you a sweet guy?
I don't really mind, to be honest.
You don't really mind. I edge towards sweets more than chocolate. But yeah, listen, it's confectionery. I'll still have it. But anyway, moving on to today's show. Ese is going to discuss his views on Manchester City's Champions League dreams. Bearing in mind that at the time of recording, this is the morning after Manchester City's crushing 3-0 defeat to Liverpool in the first leg of the Champions League quarterfinals. And we're going to sort of analyse whether they can turn things around. So we'll discuss that in due course. But I suppose before we begin, don't forget to cast your views in the comment section and poll below. Really interested to see those, so please send them in. Okay, so I guess we better dive straight into it. Ese, what was your thoughts on the game last?
I think the way Liverpool played from beginning to end in certain authority was brilliant. I mean, Manchester City just could not simply find a way through. And it was important Liverpool then shut up shop from the second half until the end.
Yeah, very crucial that they saw out a clean sheet at home. Away goals mean a lot there. Apologies, I think a slight issue. I think there's a little bit of a delay, but hopefully it should sort itself out anyway. So, Ese, how would you sum up Manchester City's performance last night?
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like they played badly, but Liverpool were just the better team.
And why were they the better team though? Because when you look at the amount of money that obviously Manchester City have spent over the years, bearing in mind obviously Liverpool have spent a hell of a lot as well, but that Manchester City side has cost an awful lot more to assemble than the Liverpool team.
Yeah, when you say it like that, it makes sense. But the head-to-head records between the sides has been pretty even over the season. Because Manchester City, of course, have beaten Liverpool 5-0 at the Etihad earlier, and the Liverpool beat them 4-3 a few months back, and then to win 3-0 just last night inserted their authority over Man City.
Very true. And I think coming into that game, I think I remember seeing or hearing that Manchester City do struggle at Anfield, do genuinely struggle at Anfield. And last night, kind of showed that, unfortunately. So where do you think it all sort of went wrong for them as such?
I'm not too sure where it went wrong for them, to be honest.
But is that not the problem as such? Because I think certainly from my point of view that it didn't seem like they were doing much wrong. It looked as though they just couldn't get in behind that sea of red defenders.
Yeah, they couldn't. Also, Kevin De Bruyne wasn't really himself, because usually he'd be like trying to find space for strikers, but he couldn't do that.
Mm, mm. Going into the game, obviously, Pep chose Gundogan over Sterling, and I think I remember hearing Rio Ferdinand sort of say that this was an interesting move and all this sort of thing, and was going to try, and this was an attempt to sort of shore up that midfield. Do you think that they kind of lost the battle in midfield, or I mean, you've mentioned about Kevin De Bruyne maybe struggling a bit last night, but was it a case of Liverpool's midfield just wanting and dominating that central part more than Man City's?
Yeah, I think so. I think so because I think the way Liverpool played last night, they just like it was like they built up a wall against Man City, and Man City just couldn't get through that.
Mm. Were you surprised at all with how quick, how strong Liverpool started?
Yeah, I was quite surprised because I didn't expect Man City to go behind as quickly as they did.
Yeah, and of all people, of course, Salah, the main guy. Do you think that if in the second leg, if they were to succeed, maybe they have some sort of plan to man mark him out of the game or something like that?
They would do. And didn't Salah suffer a slight injury last night as well?
Yeah, he did. I'm pretty sure he got forced off because of an injury.
Yeah, and if he's ruled out, then that cuts out Man City's work a bit.
Mm. Another potential key player missing for Liverpool for that second leg is, of course, Jordan Henderson, who picked up a rather silly yellow card last night. I don't know if you remember the incident. It was a rash challenge. You didn't really need to make it in the middle of the park. So that leaves Liverpool without their sort of standing or their main captain as such. What's your thoughts? Is that a big loss for Liverpool?
Massive loss for Liverpool. I mean, Jordan Henderson on the pitch is the main guy, and to not have him on the pitch for the second leg, it doesn't look good for Liverpool at all.
So, from going back to the Man City perspective now, the issues with obviously Kevin De Bruyne not getting so much or not having so much of an influence this time compared to previous, certainly Premier League and Champions League matches. Is there anything they can do to fix maybe that problem or any other problems, maybe breaking down the Liverpool defence or anything like that? Is there anything they can do to fix before the second leg, do you feel?
Mm.
I
Well,
mean, sorry, just off the top of my head, I'd go down the lines of maybe if I was answering the question, maybe like looking at the training and maybe tailoring training towards that. I don't know who they have this weekend, but I would imagine that it probably rest players. What do you think?
no, I wouldn't go down the route of resting players, although that's what it looked like on the night, because Man City are literally 3 points away from winning the title, and that's against Manchester United at the weekend. So
Oh yes, of course, yeah.
so maybe he wanted to like save players for that potential title winning game.
Mm, mm. Now, I mean, with obviously the Manchester derby, as you say, this weekend. I don't know how I could forget, but the Manchester derby anyway, and the chance for them to win the title. Do you feel that if they were to maybe pass on that and slip up there, that it could have a huge impact on their potential Champions League second leg? Or do you think that because they've pretty much won the league anyway, they may sort of see it as if they lose, they lose, or if they win, they win. It doesn't really matter. They're going to win the league. What do you think?
I don't think like that. Like that actually, and I think if Man City don't pick up maximum points against Manchester United, I don't think that will have much bearing on the second leg. It could do psychologically, but physically, no.
Okay. And psychologically, sorry, or psychologicals can certainly make a huge sort of difference on the pitch itself. So yeah, I get that point. And obviously Liverpool got a derby as well. They got Everton. Which way do you see that one going?
I've got to say Liverpool.
And why are you backing Liverpool?
They haven't got top four exactly sewn up yet, and Everton just seem to be a bit. They're just not that great on Sam Allardyce.
Okay. And bringing it back to Manchester City now, because we got a little bit sidetracked there. Bringing it back to Manchester City, do you feel that Pep's men can get the job done in the second leg?
To come from 3 goals down, that's a tall order. But having seen what Barcelona did to PSG last season, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, I mean that comeback was outstanding. So yeah, it's certainly possible. It's going to be hard though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And reviewing the two English sides, so obviously you got Manchester City and Liverpool from that game last night. Which one do you feel has the better chances to progress further in this competition to maybe go on to win? So I'm not talking about numerically. Obviously, Liverpool have got a 3-0 advantage, but just in general, what team do you think is better equipped to beat the likes of maybe Barcelona, Real Madrid, and I'm trying to think. Juve are pretty much out, aren't they? Roma pretty much out. Atletico, if they're still in, I think they're still in.
Well, Atletico, they're in Europa League.
Oh, there you go. They're in the Europa League. Whoops. So, which of the two teams, Liverpool or Man City, do you think can go on to win it? Essentially,
for some reason, I've actually started to play a Man City comeback in my head, so that's really difficult. Honestly, I'm just gonna say Liverpool, perhaps.
okay. What makes you edge towards Liverpool?
I think it boils down to experience, really.
In the sense that they've been there before, obviously, very very famous occasions in European competitions.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's the full-time whistle. But we'll just run over a little bit. So you think that's going to make a difference? Obviously, Man City haven't really had, certainly recently anyway, so much European experience in terms of winning Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can see that. But to play devil's advocate, they do have Pep Guardiola, who is a very experienced man.
Yeah, 3-time Champions League winner, I believe.
So he certainly knows how to get the job done. Yeah, so I don't. If it was 0-0, I think I would edge towards probably Man City because of the players. They have a ridiculously good set of players, but in the same sense, I think the experience does make a huge difference. and there's something about Liverpool and European competitions, isn't there?
Of course.
Of course. So yeah, please do let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. SA, do you think they're going to do it then?
It's going to be difficult, but I believe they can.
So SA is backing Man City to do it. I think the fact that it's a home game, I think, it's still plausible. They can still do that. And Liverpool do have a very weak rear guard. So, yeah, if they start getting some shots off at like Karius, I think we're in for an interesting game. They struggled a bit at that last night, I think. Anyway, yeah, so let us know your thoughts in the comments section and poll below. We'll be really interested to hear those, so please do send them in. And be sure to check out the various pieces of content we have scattered across our site, as well as our football predictor at halftimecuppa.com. And of course, this game, the second leg of this Champions League tie and all the other Champions League ties are in this week's predictor. So please do go and predict on them. I believe off the top of my head, this game is going to be the golden game. I could be wrong, or it could be the Manchester derby. So just go and double check, and by then it should all be up and ready to go. So before we wrap up, let's give today's panelist, Ese Agboaye, a very quick shout out. Ese, how can we follow you on social media today?
Yeah, so my Twitter is at A96OAYE.
Brilliant. And we'll follow you for all the latest Arsenal views and news, I guess. And please go follow SA out on there. Mine is at Danny Cook 1996. Thank you again, SA, for coming on.
Been my pleasure.
Brilliant. Top man. I've been your host, Danny Cook, and you've been listening to yet another episode of the Halftime Podcast. Goodbye.
See ya.